So this is the grave of Alison May Campbell Parrott. And Alison is unfortunately a murder victim. She was 11 years old when she was brutally murdered. She was born September 28th, 1974 in Toronto, and she died 25th of July 1986. Alison was an 11-year-old girl who was lured out of her home by a phone caller in Toronto. Her remains were found 2 days later in a wooded area of Kings Mill Park. Alison attended a French immersion elementary school, and she was an avid runner and a member of a track club for youths aged 8 to 12 years. She had qualified to participate in an international track and field meet in New Jersey, and that was scheduled for August 1st, 1986. Her name, along with those of other youth qualifying for the New Jersey event, had been published in the Toronto Star. Alison had also trained at the Varsity Stadium the previous year. Shortly before 11 in the morning on July the 25th, 1986, Alison received a phone call at her home in midtown Toronto. The call was from a man claiming he was a photographer, and he asked Alison to meet him at the Varsity Stadium, which was at the University of Toronto, and told her he would be taking publicity shots of her and her teammates. As nobody else was home at the time of the call, Alison called her mother to ask for permission to go to the photo shoot. After discussing routes and the time she would return home, Alison left the house. She took a 20-minute subway ride to get to the stadium. Alison did not arrive home at the arranged time of 2:30 that afternoon, and at 5 p.m. her parents started to make calls to friends and neighbours trying to locate her. At 6 p.m. they contacted the police. Searches for Alison were carried out over the next couple of days, but sadly Alison's body was found in a wooded area of Kings Mill Park on the Humber River just below the Old Mill subway station. She had been bound, raped and strangled. A $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the murderer was offered. According to police, the attacker had tracked Alison's movements in the weeks leading up to the murder. They believed this because on the 14th of July, an unidentified male had phoned at the house asking to speak to her. She was out at summer camp, so the babysitter had taken a message. He had apparently phoned other families with the surname of Parrott in an effort to locate the Alison Parrott who was going to the International Youth Track Championships in New Jersey. For a time, police suspected the person responsible was a man dubbed the Scarborough Rapist. However, that person was later identified as Paul Bernardo. DNA found on Alison's clothing did not match Bernardo. If you want to know a bit more about Bernardo, check out the YouTube video by Scott on Tape. Just search Scott on Tape, Paul Bernardo. The person convicted was Francis Carl Roy, and he was questioned by police during the initial first round of interviews after Alison's disappearance. He used the same training facility as Alison's track club. He had a criminal record dating back to 1976, and that record includes rape offences. And at the time of Alison's murder, Roy had been on parole after serving only 2.5 years of a consecutive 11-year sentence for the rapes of a 14-year-old girl and a 19-year-old woman. He had moved to Vancouver in '98, but returned to Toronto in 1991. Detectives in Toronto's Homicide Division picked up the file on Alison's murder as part of a cold case review, and there was information in that file that caused them to suspect Roy. Police followed him and collected cigarette butts he had discarded along with a coffee cup, and they later matched DNA from those items to the DNA found on Alison. There is information online regarding the defence he tried to use, and I am not going to talk about that on this video. It's absolutely disgusting what he says, but go and look it up and you can read it for yourself. He's eligible for parole in 2021, and I haven't been able to find anything online to say he has been released. Rest in peace, Alison. Your life was taken far, far, far too early.